Now let's move to one of the most prominent figure in Napoli, is Maestro Antonio Panico. Antonio Panico, that, on the contrary, if Sabino is a little bit less well known on the international scene, Panico is extremely well known. You know why? Because this man is a character, is a persona. With his mustache, he's not even a chain smoker. I've never seen somebody smoking that much. Sometimes he has 3 or 4 cigarettes going on in 3 different ashtrays around him. When he works at his cutting table, I'm not sure he has a cell phone. He still have, the old-fashioned, I don't know how you call that, with a dial. It's not even the beep. It's like
rotary phone.
How do you call it?
Rotary phone.
It's a film?
Rotary phone.
Ah, it's a rotary, yeah.
Yes.
So he's still using this. And when you look at his cutting table, it's full of things noted with a pen. And in fact, it's his repertory, it's his contact book. But it's here, so you have Domenico 0604, and then you have, I don't know, probably a few hundred numbers like that. So, when you enter into Panico's Sartoria, you literally step back in the 60s. Or in
right,
the 70s.
You have interesting art everywhere,
Yes.
and when you can understand what I mean when you see it, when I say it's interesting. And you have Maestro Panico sitting back in his easy chair to welcome you with whatever cigarettes, if you
With
smoke,
yeah.
or alcohol, or whatever, just to create the ambiance and create a scene of comfort.
Yeah.
And he says, "Buongiorno," and he's like this really deep voice. And this is why I think he's famous too, is because of his incredible voice that resonates throughout the room.
Yeah, and the only thing, he doesn't speak English at all, so he speaks only in Italian, but he speaks with just such a sort. He calls me Giacometti. Hey, Giacometti, come here, I'm going to show you something. He's speaking like that.
It's hypnotic.
Yeah, and sometimes it's a little bit almost scary, because when the first time you don't know, you enter here, you said, what is that? Is the guy's going to take a gun and just shoot me like that? Because it's very strange. Yeah, I mean, it looks very strange.
It's
and
very cinematic.
It's very cinematic. But when you know a little bit the person, in fact, he's a very sweet guy. He's a little bit like, it's like a defense for him to be this kind of...
Yeah, he says he's very shy. He told us that later, but people don't know that.
I doubt he's very shy, but he's reserved maybe. Yeah, maybe. Anyway, his tailoring is very famous. My opinion is that Panico is probably one among the best for overcoats, beautiful overcoats. It's an old, I would say, old-fashioned tailor with that we like a lot, with everything in his cut and in his garment has a kind of an old-fashioned flair. It's extremely elegant.
And his son is just involved
Luigi.
In the last few years.
Exactly.
And he's kind as well.
Exactly. And he's a nice guy. So anyway, Panico, well, if you want to visit, I don't advise you to knock at the door and to wake up the maestro if he takes a nap, but give a call and say, you can drop our name and say you want to visit the Sartoria and see a little bit of the garments.
And you start to understand why, if you're from Naples, you are offended if anyone calls you an Italian. You're not to be called an Italian. You're to be called
a Napolitan.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, there's some historical reason for that. You know that back in the years, Naples was a kingdom. It was the kingdom of Naples and the two Sicilies that was embracing Sicily and Sardinia. But so it's basically those people, they believe they are not Italian at all, they're Napolitan first. And we have wonderful memories with Mr. Panico. Yes. I remember a dinner we had with him at the, I remember this, it's just above Marinella, it's called Terrazza Calabrito, I remember. And it's a beautiful restaurant. And we had, at the end of the meal, we continue, walking in the street, and Panico started to teach us and to explain to us all the history. He was showing us, you see, in that building when I was 12 years old, I was working in the basement, and I had to bring the coffee to everybody, to all the tailors here, but I was penniless. So I have to take on my pay to bring the coffee to everybody. There was a tough job. So he was 12 years old at Angelo Blasi, and like many people were trained at Blasi, who was a very important name there. But he was, I remember we were in the street and said, there was a Sartoria of Roberto Combattente, who was a very famous guy back in the 1950s. So It's a sweet man. We have so many good memories for it. But remember that maybe the first contact with Maestro Panico can be a little bit rough, but don't worry. If you take an appointment, you're going to be well received in a beautiful place. Let's go now to Manna, Raffaele and Fabio Manna. Explain to us, who are these people? Manna, M-A-N-N-A.
Well, why don't you talk about the person that introduced you first to Manna, and then I will explain.
Well, I was introduced by Gianluca Migliarotti. You know, Gianluca Migliarotti is a filmmaker. He made this famous film called Omast, which is on Italian tailoring. And I was with him one day, and I said, okay, I prepare my book on Italian tailoring and Italian shoemaking, Italian gentlemen. And I said, this is my list. I have the Ciardi, the Dal Cuore, the Rubinacci, etc., etc. And do I miss somebody? And he said to me, well, you don't miss big names, but there's one secret name that I would like to give to you. It's Manna. Manna is a tiny, tiny sartoria, extremely small sartoria in the center of the city of Naples. We would not have discovered it without Migliarotti, and we're happily surprised. Can you explain a little bit?
Yes, of course. So Manna is an interesting sartoria because it could have been any small sartoria in Napoli. But the difference is they are very gifted, and the Maestro Manna and his son working together, Raffaele, they can craft at such a quick speed that it'll make your head spin, and not sacrifice quality, because they're able to dedicate time to take a suit from beginning to end and then start on the next suit. This is an unusual trait. These people are very warm, they're funny, they're very down to earth, and an excellent place to get a bespoke suit at a great price with a quick turnaround.
If you look at Sartorial talks on YouTube, you can see a Manna suit that I'm wearing. I think I wore this suit for my series on shoes when I made 2 episodes. I don't know if it's already broadcasted or not, actually. It's ridiculous. I don't know when we're going to use that. Right. So if you want to see a Manna suit, just look at the Sartorial talks about the shoes. I made 2 episodes of a visit of my personal shoe collection, and for these 2 episodes I'm wearing a Manna suit. If I remember well, I have it's a Manna with a window pane pattern from Cacciopoli, and it's a window pane pattern, beautiful fabric, and it's double-breasted, made by Manna. And you will see this is wonderful summer suit, and Sonia is right. They can craft extremely rapidly at a very affordable price. So this is just for us, the patrons. Don't say it too loud, because these people are very, very, very small and very, very good. And it's for the people who are in the know. They will know Manna. But in any case, if we can help them to grow a little bit, we will do it with pleasure.
Yes, and if you take a look at Hugo's Manna suit, wow. It's a high-level suit. It's just incredible, and we're very thankful to know the name.
Exactly. Now we move to Solito. Speak about Solito a little bit.
Okay. Luigi Solito has been...
Gennaro's
the maestro. Maestro Gennaro Solito has been around for a while. He's a name that anyone who's in the sartorial realm knows. He does work with his son Luigi, who is learning English, so it's a little bit easier to communicate with them than a lot of other places in Napoli who does bespoke tailoring. This house has some unique characteristics to it. First of all, it's a house that everyone knows. Secondly, they have a few defining traits in their suits that is interesting to say, because it's something that you might not know unless we tell you. We did an interview with Solito, and he said one of the ways to know a Solito suit is to look at the suit and notice that the front of the jacket is a little bit longer than the back of the jacket. And it's true, I've been noticing anytime I see a Solito bespoke suit, it's exactly the case. And I like knowing enough information to say, you're wearing a Solito suit, aren't you?
Yeah. This is a good sartoria. Actually, it's an extremely small sartoria too. They are installed on a small plaza.
Yes.
Where there's a lot of noise, right? He's working with the window open. So here, when you visit Sartoria, you are really in Naples, right?
Truly,
this is in Napoli. It's
truly.
noisy. There's a lot of people. It's just above a kind of a courtyard where there's a cafe, and it's very, very noisy. But it's the charm. He's cutting here with always the window open. One day it was so hot in Naples. They don't have air conditioning, as you know. In Europe, we don't use AC. I know you guys. You just always wonder why we don't use AC specifically when we have heat waves. But I remember, because it's a belief. I'm not going to go into that subject, but I remember we were at Solito. It was so hot that his workers, instead of staying in the Sartoria, they were working literally in the stairs, sitting in the stairs. You know how tailors do. They take the thing with the needle and they sew on their how do you call that? On their knee. Sorry, sometimes just remind me. I'm just French. Sometimes I still have problem with the parts of the body: the knee, the calf, the foot, right, the shoulder. Anyway, so they were sewing on their knee like that, outside, literally sitting outside on the stairs. And this is Naples. You know, you don't see this everywhere, and it's a great place.
And they're very consistent. If you could look at a picture of that Sartoria, say 30 years ago, the same as today.
Exactly.
You have the same poster board behind the same cutting table, and he's always in the same position. It's like a repeat photo,
actually,
and you
he
see
doesn't
that
age.
no, he doesn't age either. It's strange. He looks the same as he did decades ago.
So that's Gennaro Solito. It's in the center of Naples. It's a great place and great people. Now let's move to one of our favorite in Naples. It's called Nunzio Pirozzi with his son Domenico Pirozzi. Well, I tell you why Sonia likes this Sartoria so much. Because Pirozzi, they have a science of cutting and of crafting suit that makes you immediately slimmer. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, I repeat. They have a science of cutting and crafting suit that makes you immediately, at least visually, slimmer. Sonia used to say that when I put on I have one Pirozzi suit, I have one project going on, but one that I already wear. I mean, I've been wearing this suit so many times, because when you put it on, it's true, immediately you lose 15 pounds.
Well, I said 10, but...
Well, okay, let's say 15.
But I like you in all shapes and sizes, so I actually crave that you wear your Pirozzi suit, because I like you at all sizes.
Oh, she's very sweet with me today. But anyway, Pirozzi, he has this science of cut, and you can imagine how successful he is, because everybody wants to look slim and look better and look, more slimmer in their suit, and he really has something. The only downside of that is that this man has such a success, specifically in Japan, that the delay to have a suit can be long. We're speaking at least in months, if not a little bit more. But believe me, my friends, it's worth the wait, because this is probably one of the best cut suit I've had the occasion. And believe me, I've been wearing a lot of suits, and Pirozzi really stands out of the crowd for this specific quality. The cut and the silhouette of a Pirozzi suit are absolutely stunning. Is that right?
Yes, of course. Typical Neapolitan traits in the crafting of their suits. Great thing is he has a fantastic assistant named Sarah, and if you have the opportunity, please spend time with her, and maybe even her husband Gigi, who's a figurehead in Napoli, will come over to say hello. So the language is no problem.
Sarah, she speaks a very good. It's not her assistant. I think it's her PR manager or something like that. But she speaks. So at Pirozzi, you can go. The Sartoria is beautiful. It's in Viale Gramsci, which is just behind the Viale Caracciolo. It's on the seafront, Viale Gramsci, and it's very interesting because it is opposite a very famous shirt maker that is opposite, literally in front of Pirozzi, which is Anna Matuoso. We're going to speak of Anna Matuoso right now.